All right, welcome everyone as we are dedicated by A.B. Spry for the safety of the soldiers and for the zunt of all of Klal Yisrael, for the recovery of the hostages by Shimon Klein, Lila Nishmas, Asheran, Shimon Yehuda, and Gittel by Shimon Pinchas, by Irving Fishbaum, who asked for Lorona that Issa ben Razel should have Refuah Shalema, and Eliezer ben Razel for Meir ben Chayesara. We welcome in Saba joining us here, and Bruce Heisenberg, Nachman Chapler, Eli Udell, Mark Frankel, Mel Zachter, Jay Siegel, Aaron Swade, Stephen Holtzman, Mo Kushner, who I had the pleasure of seeing in the Deerfield Beach today by Mincha. He looked great by Mincha. A.B. Spry, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Eddie Chazan, Yitz Fuchs, Baruch Ian, in the flesh. Look at this. He surfaces. I think he was in the Ukraine for a while, but he is here now, and Yitzi Muller, and Dr. Block, Irving Fishbaum. We welcome in Sandy Grunfeld. David Helfgott on, I think he listens to Zoom, I want you to know, Rabbi Isai, this stretch has been one of the hardest stretches, I think, since the beginning of Shas. This stretch of Gemaras, I mean, Yavamis might be harder, but this is a very hard stretch. It is very hard to prepare. It's a long blot and very detailed. We begin at the new Mishnah on the bottom of Kuf Yudal Amud Beis. New Mishnah, bottom of Kuf Yudal Amud Beis. So what happens over here is that poor Abi, they steal things from Abi. So what happened is Mark, who has been, up to trouble, Mark stole stuff from Abi, and he sold it to Bruce. So let's get this. Poor Abi. Mark stole either vacuum cleaner or svarim from Abi and sold it to Bruce. And then we understand that what Bruce has is stolen merchandise. Now Bruce paid money for it, Bruce paid money. He bought it from Mark. He paid money for it, right? So now Abi hears that his Shas or his Electrolux vacuum cleaner is by Bruce. So says the Mishnah, Hamakir Kelov Usvarav Biyad Achar. If, let's say, Abi sees that his utensils, his vacuum cleaner, his Shas, is in the hands of Bruce, the Yotzaloi Shem Geneva Be'er, and there goes out a rumor that Abi was burglarized. So Yeshava Loikeach Kamanosan, Bruce swears how much he paid for it. Hey, listen, he paid $500 for the Shas, he paid $500 for the vacuum cleaner, V'yito. And then he has to relinquish it to Abi, who compensates him for the $500. But v'im lav, if the Shem Geneva did not go out in the city, there was no rumor that Abi was burglarized, lav kolemenu, he's not believed to say it was stolen, and therefore he's going to take it away from Bruce. Shani Amar, I say no, Abi sold it to somebody, and that person sold it to Bruce. Machon la'acher, he sold it to Mark, and Bruce bought it for Mark. He's not believed to say it's stolen merchandise unless there's a rumor that he was burglarized. So the Gemara says, but so what that there's a rumor? Maybe Abi started the rumor. Maybe he sold it to Mark. And he made the rumor. So Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, there were people in Abi's house V'amad v'hifkin b'layla, and Abi got up and screamed in the night. V'amar nignavu kelai, my shas was stolen. Says the Gemara. So again, kol shechein ila matzah. He's using a pretext. He wants to get it back. So he concocted. How do we know that it's true? Just because he yelled it. Says the Gemara, Rav Kahana Messiah ba Mishmei de Rav. Rav Kahana gives in more background detail. Kigoin shoysa machteres chatura b'soit beisai. There was a tunnel made in his house. Abi locks the door from the inside, but the guests tunneled out. Ubnei Adam shalanu b'soit beisai. And the people that were his house guests, Yatsu, left, and they left with sacks, with laundry bags of utensils through the tunnel. And everybody says that Abi was burglarized. Says the Gemara, but who says they stole his shas? Maybe there was utensils, svarim le'hava, they didn't steal the shas. Why can he demand back the shas from Bruce? They said that he was burglarized of svarim too. Says maybe they took only a set of mishnayos, v'kata and Rav Raveh, and he's claiming a shas. So Rav Yosef Bar Chanina the kamrei sifrei Pliny or Pliny. No, it was a shas. Maybe it was an old shas with katon charate, and he's claiming a brand new oiz v'hader. Rav, so Rav says no. Kigain the imrei halalu kelev shel Pliny, halalu kelev shel Pliny. It's talking about where they said, yeah, they stole his oiz v'hader shas. They stole. They didn't just he didn't just say svarim, but it's talking about where people said clearly that halalu svarim shel Pliny, halalu svarim shel Pliny, that this shas is Abi shas, and that's why therefore he's allowed to. Bruce swears how much he paid for it. And Abi could give him the money and take it back. Says the Gemara, wait a second. If Mark tunneled into Abi's house to steal from him, we know that Habab Machteres, that somebody that breaks in, you're allowed to kill him. Because since if he's when he breaks in like that, he's ready to defend himself. And therefore, since he might kill you, so you're allowed to protect yourself and kill him. And therefore, since he risked his life over it, it's a type of kamlei b'rabminei that he doesn't have to pay. And therefore, if he says the Gemara, "Umi amar Rav hachi," do the utensils have to be returned? If somebody breaks in, v'notal kelim, and he steals utensils in breaking in, since at the time when he broke in, the owner would be allowed to kill him in order not to be killed, so therefore Mark forfeits his life, and therefore he acquires the electrocs, he acquires the utensils, it doesn't have to be given back. So, Potter, my time, but he acquires it by his blood. Says the Gemara, that's where Mark broke in. Here Mark didn't break in. It says that people saw them tunneling out, but he didn't break in and put himself into danger. That's when he tunnels in and breaks in. He risked his life. He gave himself over to be killed. They didn't initially break in. It says that there were guests in the house. Therefore, the Ganav doesn't acquire. Now, the Gemara says all that we say that Abi has to bring so much proof that it was stolen, and that not that he sold it to Mark. That's only if Abi was in the svarim selling business. But if he wasn't in the svarim selling business, he doesn't have to bring so much proof. Says the Gemara, maybe he needed money and he was forced to sell it. Says the Gemara, there it's enough that there is a report that he was burglarized. If it's not the derech for him to sell svarim, he doesn't have to bring proof that it was a shas. He doesn't have to bring. It's enough that it's not the derech for him to sell svarim, and it went out that he was burglarized. That's enough, and therefore he asks Bruce, "You have the shas. Swear to me how much you paid for it." He compensates him, and he gets back his shas. Now, we'll learn more about this, because not always does he have to compensate Bruce. We'll see. Just getting underway over here on a very long daf and detailed daf. 3 lines from the top of Daf Kuf Tesav Amud Aleph, and I will tell you, it took me over 2 hours to prepare this daf, which is a long time, and more than 2 hours, and I still hope that I should make it clear with Siyata Dishmaya from the Olam, with our 24 Zoomers that are here. Shelley, you got back the article and everything, right? It's all in the bag already, right?
Correct.
Excellent. What a find that was! An excellent find. How old is that article?
11, 12 years.
Oh, really? Wow.
I forget which year it was from, but I think 12.
That's before my bar mitzvah even.
Right.
Wow. Imar. Gonav umochar. Mark stole it from Abi, sold it to Bruce, and then we find that Mark is the thief. So now the question is, who does Abi deal with? Does he deal with Mark, or does he deal with Bruce? So Rab Mishmei Rab Chia Amar Hadima Marishan. He has to deal with the Ganav. In other words, he stole a shas worth $1,000. He gets back from Mark $1,000. Rabbi Yochanan Mishmei Rabbi Yani Amar Hadin Ma'asheni. He could even go to Bruce, and he could even get it from him without compensating Bruce. While Rabbi Yochanan Mishmei Rabbi Yani Amar Hadin Rabbi Yosi, excuse me. So Rabbi Chia says that the din is with Mark, with the thief, while Rabbi Yochanan Mishmei Rabbi Yani Amar Hadim Masheni. He could even go to Bruce. Says the Gemara, they're really not arguing. Amar Rav Yosef loy pligi kan lefnei yish. If Abi wasn't miyayish yet, so if Abi wasn't miyayish, so even when it's in the hands of Bruce, it's still his. So then Hadin Masheni, he could get back his shas straight from Bruce. And in this case, now we're going to learn, if Abi was not miyayish, it's his stuff. He just takes it back from Bruce. He doesn't have to compensate Bruce. We're going to see that there's something called a takonas hashuk. The takonas hashuk is that we want to protect buyers. If buyers are going to have their stuff just taken away from them without compensation, they're going to be very gun shy from making purchases. So there is a situation where we make the owner compensate the buyer because of what's called the takonas hashuk. But for now we'll learn that the only time the takonas hashuk is effective is where we didn't recognize the thief. So that if it's taken away from Bruce without compensation, he has no way to get back his money. But if we recognize the thief, if we know it's Mark, so AB takes his shots, and then Bruce goes after Mark.
I got him on there. How do you get the volume up on this? How do you even turn this thing on? There should be a little button here, huh?
Michal Avram. Michal Avram.
Yeah, yes.
There he is, right there. But how do we get this? That's the on-off.
So Amar Rav Yosef loy pligi kan lifnei yish. If Abi wasn't miyayish yet, so that didn't masheni. So then Abi could take the shas back even from Bruce who bought it. Kan la'achar yish. Oh, if Abi was already miyayish, so now Bruce gets the shas with yish and shinu rishus, then adina marishan. Then Abi has to go after the thief. The Travayu Isud Rav Chisda, and they both hold Rav Chisda that if it's before Yish, then you could take it away even from the buyer. Amalei Abaya v'loy pligi. Do they not argue? Hamatnes Kahuna, gifts of the Kohanim. We know that one of the 24 Matnes Kahuna is that the Kohen is entitled to get the keva, the maw of the animal, which is a part of the innards of an animal. So now, in this case, and now the Kohanim, they are always like before Yish, because they don't even know about it to be Miyayish. Upligi, and yet there's an argument, the Tanan. Now here's a new case. Amaloi, what happens is that I don't know if you know about this, but Eddie Chazan, sitting there with his friend, Eddie Chazan is a well-known shoichet. He's a well-known, he slaughters. He doesn't necessarily slaughter animals, he slaughters other things, but Eddie Chazan is a well-known shoichet. So Mark tells Eddie, Mecharli me'eha shel para. Sell me the innards of the cow. Now, in the innards are the maw, which has to go to the kohen. V'hoya b'matanis, and in it is the maw, the cave that has to go to the matanis. Noisna l'kohen. Mark has to give it to the kohen, but he can't ask Eddie for a deduction for the price. Ve'ena menaka loy min adam. He can't ask Eddie for a deduction from the price. If he pays per pound to Eddie, so then he has to give it to the kohen. So therefore, if let's say the maw was 2 pounds, he could deduct 2 pounds from the price. That's only if Mark weighed it out for himself. If the butcher weighed it out to Mark, then hadinim atabach, then the butcher is responsible. The kohen could come and demand it from the butcher. Now wait a second. If this is talking about before Yish, because the Kohanim don't know about it to be Miyayish, why can't he go to Mark? We said that before Yish you could go to the buyer also. Says the Gemara, Ema, no, it doesn't mean that he can't go to Mark. It means that he could, of course he could go to Mark, But after Matapach, if he wants, the Kayan could go to the butcher. Says the Gemara, Ma'od the same, I might think, Ein Matnas Kahuna Nigzelis, that Matnas Kahuna is already the property of the Kayan. It can't be stolen, and wherever it is, it belongs to the Kayan, so you can't go to Eddie, because now the more is by Mark. Kamash Malan, no, he could go to Eddie as well. He could say, listen, it was your responsibility to give the more, and therefore he could go to the butcher as well. Says the Gemara, Ula Baya de Imre Pligi, a Baya who says that Reb Chia and Reb Yochanan are arguing. What are they arguing about? B'mai Pligi, they argue with Rav Chisda. They argue if before Yish you could also go to the buyer, or even before Yish you go to the thief and not the buyer. Rav Zvid Amar, Rav Zid says, here it's an interesting situation. It's talking about where AB was miyayish. Remember the case. Mark stole it from AB and sold it to Bruce. Rav Zvid says it's an interesting situation. It's talking about where Mark stole it and he sold it to Bruce, and after he sold it to Bruce, AB was miyayish. So the question is whether we say, we know that Yush and Shina Rishus is kaina. Yush and change of ownership. But what if the Shina Rishus happens before the Yush, like over here? Because when Mark sold it to Bruce, AB wasn't miyayish. It's only afterwards that AB was miyayish. So says the Gemara, that's the case with his machlokes. Let's see it inside. Rav Zvid Amar Kigain Shi Nisyashu Abaylim Biyad Lekeach. It's talking about where AB was miyayish when it was in the hands of Bruce, the buyer. But Velo Nisyashu Biyad Haganaf. And he wasn't miyayish when it was by Mark, the thief. He wasn't miyayish when Mark sold it to Bruce. Obapligi, Mar Savar Yush va'acha kach Shina Rishus kani. That Yush and afterwards Shina Rishus, the buyer is kaina. But Shina Rishus, if first it was given to Bruce and then va'acha kach Yush loy kani, and therefore AB could demand it from Bruce. Omar Savar loishna, even Shina Rishus and after Yish is kaina, and therefore AB's recourse is only to Mark, the thief. He can't take it from Bruce because Bruce was already kaina with Yish and Shina Rishus. Rav Papa says a third thing. Rav Papa Amar Biglima, if what was stolen was a coat, the Kuli Alma like Pligi, the Hada Lamari. Everybody explains. Everybody holds that if it was a cloak, everybody holds that it has to be returned to AB. The question is, does AB have to compensate Bruce, or does Bruce have to deal with the well-known thief Mark? So says the Gemara, Biglima de Kuli Amaloi Pligi de Had. But Vahacha Ba'asabay Takana Hashukka Mifligi. Did they make in this case, like I mentioned to you earlier, the Takanas Hashuk, that we make AB reimburse Bruce, or otherwise people will be gun shy from buying? Rav Mishmeid Reb Chia Amar Hadin Nimarishin. The din is with Mark. Dina de Lekeach de Lishko Zuze Meganef. The din is that the buyer should take the money and have to deal with Mark. They didn't make AB reimburse Bruce. That means that if AB wants it back, he has to give him money to Bruce. Dina de Lekeach de Lishko Mabalabayis. because they protected him with a takanas hashuk, even over here where it was hooker aganim. They knew who the thief was. Says the Gemara, V'sava Rav lo yasa takanas hashuk. Rav doesn't hold that we protect the buyer. Rav Huna told me that Rav Huna was a disciple of Rav. V'chanan Bisha and Chanan the wicked, Ganav Glima, he stole a cloak, Vizovna, and he stole a cloak from Abi, and he sold it to Bruce. Also the Kamid Rav Huna. So Abi came to Rav Huna. He wants to get back his cloak. Amalei lahu Gavra. Rav Huna, who was a disciple of Rav, he told Abi, if you want your cloak back, Zil Shari Avitek, go and claim back your mashkin. In other words, go and buy it back. You have to buy it. You have to buy it back from Bruce. So you see that he holds that they made a takanas hashuk, even in a case where they knew who the ganav was, even though they knew that the ganav was Chanan Bisha. So the Gemara says that's different. Remember, we said that if it's lo yukar ganav, if we don't know who the ganav is, then we're going to make the takanas hashuk to reimburse Bruce. Here, since the ganav was the well-known, notorious Chanan Bisha, the wicked Chanan Bisha, Bruce is not going to be able to get his money. So even though we know who he is, we make a takmanas hashuk. Shani Chanan Bisha came in the lekalish telumim. You can't get money out of him. It's like you don't know who the ganav is, and therefore that's why Abi has to compensate. Amar Rava im ganav mefursimhu. If Bruce buys from a well-known thief, so then that means that Bruce knew that it was stolen merchandise. So then then we don't give him any protection. Because Bruce, you're very naughty. You shouldn't have bought. No, Bruce doesn't know that Mark is a thief. But if Bruce buys it from a shady person like Eddie, then we don't give him any protection. Because you should know that it's stolen merchandise. I'm sorry, Eddie, I know you have a friend there, but your friend should know, Anyway, so Amar Rava im ganim mefursimu, if he's a well-known thief, we didn't give him the protection. So then the Gemara says, then why did we do it by Chanan Bisha? By Chanan Bisha, Rav Huna was the Talmud of Rav, told him that you got to compensate. Chanan Bisha the mefursimu, and yet also by Takanas Hashuk. Says the Gemara, Chanan Bisha was a wicked person, but he wasn't known as a thief. Says the Gemara, Nehei the mefursim levishusa, even though he was known as a bad person, lignevusa lo mefursim, he wasn't known to deal in stolen merchandise. Now here we have, I'm telling you, this Gemara goes from one case to another case to another case. Very, very challenging Gemara, Rabbi say. Very challenging. Yeah, it's really amazing that everybody is holding in and joining us. I see Michal Avram there. I'm sorry they had a hard time figuring out how to put on the machine. But Michal Avram, thank you for setting it up. Ruvain Shannon is there, and I see somebody in back of Ruvain Shannon. I don't know who that is. Yeah. One day you'll learn how to get on. Let's see. I could unmute them. Let's see. Let me do that. No, I guess I can't. Okay. But we welcome in the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways, and I'm very glad. I'm greatly in debt to you, Michal Avram, for I missed the Olam, and I'm really excited that everybody there is joining us. And Shimon Deer has come in and joined us over here, Abe Arbach, Rabbi Kranz, all for this exciting, and everybody should know it's a special night because Mark is back. Mark, we missed you. Mark, I think, Mark, you were by Daytona? No. I thought he was racing maybe in Daytona. Okay, wow. Do I tell you somebody was listening to my share from last cycle, and he said that I spent over an hour and a half in this daf in the last cycle. So it really is a challenging daf. Also, for those that have been with me for many years, so Abi will remember him, and Shelley knew him because Shelley was involved with him recently. He had joined us one night here because of Shelley. Irving Fishbaum might remember him, but a Talmud of mine for 30 years, he didn't miss a night, passed away today. Mr. Weichbrod passed away. His neshama should have a great aliyah. He was an amazing Talmud. He used to be the mashkiach, but yeah, he used to be a mashkiach in Maimonides Hospital, and he was in the kitchen at 5:30 in the morning. Yet he came every night at 10 p.m. to the daf for 30 years. He was a really special man. His neshama should have an aliyah. Anyway, says the Gemara, a new case. Itmar, Ganav upara b'chayvay. Here Mark stole from Abi, and he paid a debt to Bruce. Bruce did some chiropractic stuff, and Mark paid him for a debt. Or Ganav upara b'kefay, or Mark stole from Abi, and Bruce sold him some matzah for Pesach, and he paid his credit. So in that case, says the Gemara, when Abi comes to take it away from Bruce, loy asa by takanas hashuk. Here, they didn't provide him the protection of the takanas hashuk. Why? Because he didn't put out money because of the theft. He gave the loan to Mark beforehand. He sold the matzah to Mark beforehand. And therefore, the Imre lava daita dahanhu yehivislay lava data dahanu yehivislay midai. It was not, he didn't give the money, he didn't give the matzah because of this stolen merchandise. It came to him afterwards. And therefore, Abi takes it away without compensating him. Now, mashkanta shabi mosen b'mona b'meya. Here, Mark steals from Abi a expensive esrig box worth 200, and he takes a loan from Bruce and gives him the esrig box as a mashkin. And now we recognize that Bruce has the stolen merchandise. Also by Takanas Hashuk, he's given the protection of the Takanas Hashuk, and Abi has to compensate him. Why? Because he says, look, I only gave the money because I got the collateral. And the derech was to take double or more in the collateral. Shava b'shava, but if Bruce gave Mark a loan for 100 for the esrig box, there we say he didn't give it because of the esrig box, because if it was, he really gave it because of the collateral, he would have taken something more expensive. And therefore he didn't give it really because of the collateral. So there, Shava b'shana, Ameimer Amar, Ameimer says, no, there, loyasa by takanas hashuk, because it's not usual that you give collateral which is only equal to the loan. Mazutra Amar, no, also by Takanas Hashuk. Zvina Shava B'Shava. If, let's say, Bruce bought it from Mark for its value. If he bought it for its value, so then that's also by Takanas Hashuk. If we don't know who the thief is, so they give him the protection of the shuk, because we don't want buyers to be gun shy, and normally you buy and you pay the price of the merchandise. But if Bruce paid Shava Meya B'Mosan, if he bought from Mark the stolen merchandise, and he paid, instead of, it was worth 100 and he paid 200, so Rav Sheshes Amalei Asabay Takanas Hashuk. Why? Because Bruce obviously gave Mark a gift. He gave him an extra 100. We say that no, the whole thing was a gift, and therefore he didn't give the money because of the merchandise, and therefore he's not provided the protection of the marketplace. While Rav Amar Asabay Takanas Hashuk, sometimes people overpay. V'hilchasa, the law is Bruce is entitled to the protection of Takanas Hashuk and to get compensated by Abi when he releases the stolen merchandise. V'hilchasa b'kulu asabay Takanas Hashuk levar meganav apara b'chayvay, except where Mark stole the money and paid a debt to Bruce, or apara b'kefa, or paid the credit that he owed to the store by Bruce, because over there Bruce didn't give the loan and didn't give the meat from the shop because of the stolen merchandise. And therefore, since it wasn't given because of the stolen merchandise, he doesn't receive the protection of the shuk. Now, the Gemara continues, just getting into tonight's daf over here, already 37 minutes in, and not even cracking Amid Beis. When that happens, Rabbi Isai, you know that you're getting a lot of schar, the fum Sarah Agra. From the Sunshine State, we're learning very challenging Gemara. Avima bar Nozi, Avima the son of Nozi, Chamua de Ravina, the father-in-law of Ravina, have a masik bahu gavra arba zuzeh. What happened was, the Avime bar Nozi had a claim on Mark for 4 zuz. No, it's Mark owed him 4 zuz. So, Ganav Glima, so Mark, his solution is, he stole a cloak and Asya Nihale, and he gave it to Avimi. So, Avimi then Osvei Arba Zuze Akrine. Avimi then gave him a loan of another 4 zuz. So now the question is, the second 4 zuz, the second 4 zuz, he gave to Mark only because of the glima, only because of the stolen merchandise. So there is an argument to say on the first 4 zuz, which he gave, the glima was only paying up a debt, so he didn't give those 4 zuz because of the cloak. On that he doesn't get the takanas hashuk. But on the second 4 zuz, he gave that to Mark because Mark gave him the cloak. So there, he should get the takanas hashuk at least on the second 4 zuz. So says the Gemara, when we found Mark, also the Kamei de Ravina, the owner came to Ravina. Amar Kamoi, the first the first 4 zuz that he got the cloak for, that's Ganav Upara B'chayvay. That's a case where it was stolen, and the Ganav paid the debt. And for paying the debt, you don't get the protection of the shuk, because the loan was not given initially because of the cloak. The owner, in this case Abi, doesn't have to give him anything. But Hanach Arba Zuzei Achrine, the latter 4 zuz, which he gave him because he gave him the cloak, Shkol Zuzei, so let the owner give the 4 zuz, and get back the cloak. However, Rav Kayin, it's an interesting name, Rav Kayin says, I don't understand. He initially gave him the loan of the 4 zuz without anything. Maybe we should learn that the cloak was there to pay up for the 4 zuz, and he gave him the other loan of 4 zuz on trust, just like he trusted him initially. Maybe the cloak, he gave him just to pay up the original 4 zuz, and that's gonna that's a case of stealing and paying up a debt, stealing and paying up a credit, where there's no takanas hashuk. And the later 4 zuz that he gave him as a loan, he gave him with trust, like he trusted him initially. Says the Gemara, Galgal Milsa, this matter rolled around. It reached Rabbi Avo. Rav Kayin. Allah is like Rav Kayin, that he doesn't have to give him. The owner takes the cloak, and he doesn't have to give him anything, because the fact that he gave him the cloak to pay up the first 4 zuz, that's paying credit, and paying credit there's no takanas hashuk. The second 4 zuz he didn't give him because of the cloak, he gave him of trust, and therefore he could take back the cloak without giving him anything. Now, another case. Narsha Ganav Safra. There was a man from Narsha who stole a Rambam. He stole from Abi a Rambam. So Mark the Narsha stole from Abi a Rambam. Zovnei lepapana b'tnu'anan zuzeh. He sold it to Bruce, who lived in Papana, for 80 zuz. Ozel Papana, so Bruce went ahead and Zovna lebar mechuzah, and he sold it to Eddie from Mechuzah b'ma ve'esrim zuzeh, for 120 zuz. So, okay, you got this straight, right? Mark, who is a man from Narsha, stole a Rambam from Abi. He went ahead and sold it to Bruce from Papana for 80 zuz. Bruce went ahead and sold it to Eddie from Mechuzah for 120 zuz. L'sefer Karaganim. We find out, Abi finds out that Mark was the troublemaker. Mark was the thief. Amar Abaya, so Abaya says, Lezel Mori de Safre, let the Abi, the owner of the Rambam, go, v'yahav le'lebar mechuzah, and let him, now, the Rambam is now by Eddie. Let him go and give Eddie Tamnan Zuzeh, 80 zuz, v'shokol safre, and get back his Rambam. And then Eddie should go to Bruce and get back the $40 that he paid from him. V'ozl bar mechuzah v'shokol arbon mipapanua, and let Eddie, who bought it for 120, he's only refunded 80. Let him recoup the 40 from Bruce. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Why do we put the burden on poor Eddie? If we protect a buyer, Eddie was more removed. He's a buyer from a buyer. Eddie says, what do you want from me? Right? So therefore, asks the Gemara, Maskiv Larava, even if they make a takana from the first buyer who bought stolen merchandise, we should surely protect Eddie who bought it from the first buyer. He didn't even buy it from the Ganim. Says Gemara, El Amar Rava, Lezel Mari de Safra, let Abi who owned the Rambam go. The Yov Leilabar Mechuzah Ma'ov Esrim Zuzeh. Let him go and compensate Eddie for 120. He gets the full Takanas Hashuk. He gets the full protection of the marketplace. Let him give Eddie 120 what Eddie paid for it. And then V'shakal Safra and get back his Rambam. V'leizel Mari de Safra and let the let now poor Abi had to put out 120 for the Rambam that was his. So now he has to recoup his 120. So Leizel Mari Safra let Abi go. V'lishkal arbon mipapanoi and take 40 from Bruce who paid 40 to remember Bruce got 80 from Eddie because he bought it from Mark for 40. So Leizel Mari de Safra V'lishkal arbon mipapana, let him take 40 from Eddie, and Usmanan Minersha, and 80 from let him take 40 from Bruce, and let him take 80 from Eddie. Now, obviously, this is talking about a case. Was Mark known yet? Yeah, Mark was known. So why don't we go after Mark? Why don't we go after Mark? Why are we going after everybody except for Mark? See, if we didn't recognize Mark, that would be the answer. Right? It says l'soifu karaganav. At the end, the Ganav was recognized. So why are we? I don't know. That needs further study. Okay. Now we start a new Mishnah. Zeh Bava Chavita Shel Yayin Baruchian is. Huh?
We do go after the guy. We kill them with the shah. Goes after the guy to get the 80. Or the 80.
Yeah, Nachman is right. Nachman is right. In other words, we go to Bruce, the first buyer, and we take 40 from him, and then we take 80 from Mark. In other words, we don't touch Eddie because he's too removed. He's a buyer of a buyer. Thank you, Nachman. So we take 40 from Bruce, the first buyer, and we take Eddie from Mark, the thief. Okay, that's good. Now, Richard Rosenzweig is joining us. Welcome. And it's a big Kiddush Hashem to have so many Zoomers here this evening. Says the Gemara, Zeba b'chavite shel yain. If, let's say, Baruch Ian is coming with a barrel of wine, V'zeba b'kadoi shel dvash, and Michal Avram is holding a pitcher of honey. Now, honey is more expensive than wine. Nistiga chavya shel dvash, if Michal Avram's jug cracked and the honey is spilling out, v'shafach zes yenai, so Baruch Ian, who has a good heart, spills out his wine, v'hitzel es hadvash, and he saves Michal Avram's honey. So now Baruch Ian at least wants compensation for his wine. I'm sorry, Baruch. Ein lo yelascharoi. He can only get paid for the time he took to spend catching the honey. He can't get compensation for the wine. However, v'im amar, but if he said in advance, listen, Michal Avram, atzel eshelcha, I'll save your honey, and you'll give me the money of my wine, then chayiv litin. Then Michal Avram has to give it to him. Similarly, shotaf nachal chamoiroi v'chamor chaveiroi. If a flash flood came and swept away Baruch Ian's donkey and Michal Avram's donkey. Now, you don't know this about Baruch Ian, but he's an Olympic swimmer. So therefore, he could do wonders. He can't save both of them, but he could save one of the donkeys. Now, Shelo Yafamana, Baruch's donkey is only worth 100. Mishal Chaveiroi Masayim, Michal Avram's is worth 200. V'aniach zeh Shelo Baruch, the good Samaritan that he is, he abandons his donkey, v'hitzel eshel chaveiroi, and saves Michal Avram's. Ein lo yelaschari. He can't demand compensation for the $100 his donkey. He only gets payment for saving the donkey, whatever it is. V'im amaloi, but if he said specifically, ani atzel eshelcha, I'll save yours, v'ata noisin li ashali, you'll compensate me for mine, then chayiv litin. Then Michal Avram has to pay. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. What compensation? If Michal Avram's honey was going to spill out, then it's hefker. And if it was going to spill out to the ground, it's hefker. And when Baruch saves it, it should become his. What does it mean that he only has to give him? Says V'amai, leimalei, and Baruch Ian should say, Mefkeres kozachina, I'm keeping the whole honey. Milay Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, Harishayu ton kadiyayim v'kadishem. If somebody was carrying jugs of wine and jugs of oil, v'rosh ein mishtabrais, and he sees that they're breaking and that they're going to be lost, lo yomer harizet truma meiser al perishi yeshli b'seich beisi. He can't say that they should be truma and meiser for the fruits that are in this house. Why? Because you can't make truma and meiser from hefker. The Amar, and if he says it, lo yamar klum, it's not good trumas and meisers, because you can't give trumas and meisers so that you see that something that's about to break is hefker. So therefore, if Baruch catches it, then he should be able to keep it. Says the Gemara here must be talking about special case. It's talking about where the honey that breaks has a wrapper over it. It has the lattice wrapper of the wine press. And therefore it's not going to come out so fast. And that's why it's not hefker. K'd'amar Reb Yirmiyah, k'she'ikal beis abad korech aleh. When the wrapper of the olive press, which was a lattice type wrapper, is wrapped around it. so that the honey is not going to spill out all in one time. Hakanami, that's what it's talking about here. Kishi'iko beisabad korachaleh. So then the Gemara says, V'im Amar, hold on a second. V'im Amar, and if he says about the bottles of wine and oil that are breaking, that they should be truma and meiser, lo yamar klum, it doesn't count. But Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Misha Bobederech, if somebody is traveling on the road, and he has money, the anas kenegdai, and there's a bandit coming opposite him. Mark is strolling, and he sees Robin Hood coming. Now Robin Hood robs from the rich and gives to the poor. So Mark says, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, Robin is coming. So what does Mark do? He has Meiser Sheni, and he needs to redeem it on money. He says, let me redeem my Meiser Sheni. So this way, if it's stolen, at least it'll be Meiser Sheni. I'll have taken care of something. So the din is, let's see it inside. The fruit of Meiser Sheni that I have in my house should be mechulalim amos halalim. That should be redeemed on this money. But the Im Amar, even though he shouldn't do it, but if he does it, Dvar Kayamim, it's good. So you see, even though it's money that's going to be lost by the good Robin, it's still good. So why isn't the truma with the barrels that are breaking? Why isn't it good truma? Says the Gemara, no. Mark is carrying. He has a concealed weapon. I shouldn't tell you this, but he lives in Bela Kinwood, so he has a concealed weapon license. So Robin only has a bow and arrow. So Achav, and even though Robin has Big John next to him, but Mark is a sharpshooter. He doesn't need to use the staff. He just takes out his Colt 500 and am I giving away too many secrets, Mark? Says the Gemara, where he could save his money. Says the Gemara, if he could save his money, then why can't he do it l'chatchila? Then l'chatchila, why can't he say l'chatchila that should be mechulul, the Meiser Sheni should be redeemed? Says the Gemara, he doesn't know if he'll be able to neutralize both Robin Hood, Big John, and Friar Tuck. He doesn't know. Boy, I'm remembering names from 50 years ago. But anyway, I got them right? Shelley, I got them right?
Little John.
Oh, it's Little John, not Big John. But Big John was big. Just Little John. Okay. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you. So I'm not such
It was
I'm not such a bucky after all.
sarcastic use.
I'm not such a bucky. Anyway, so it's not for sure that he'll be able to save it, and therefore he can't do it l'chatchila. Says the Gemara, "V'kol heicha de'ike hefseida." In any case where there's a possibility of loss, l'chatchila lo yamar, you're not allowed to say l'chatchila. V'tanya, we learned in a Brisa, hari shahoya loy eser chavyoy shel tevel tameh. Now this is a wild case. Mark has 10 barrels of tevel that's tameh. Now, here, he's a Levi. And he has 10 barrels of Meiser Rishon that he has to give Trumas Meiser from. V'ra achas mehem shenishbara, and he sees one of them that's breaking. Oishin is galsa, or it was uncovered, so it becomes aser, because yayin that's megula is aser to drink, because a snake might have drank from it. Oimer harihi trumas meiser, he could say about that one barrel that it should be Trumas Meiser al Tesha Chavruseha for its other 9. Why? Because anyway, the Trumas Meiser that he would have given is not worth much, because it's tummy, and you're not allowed to eat Trumas Meiser that's tummy. And therefore, since it's a very little hefsid, so he could say, even if it's breaking, or if it was uncovered, that it should be Trumas Meiser. However, ubeshemen lo yasaken. But if it's oil, he's not allowed to do it, because even though it's tamei, oil that's tamei, you could use for fuel. That's the din. Trumas Meiser that's tamei, you can't eat, but you could use it as fuel. So, and that's one of the major purposes of oil. So therefore, this oil still has a lot of use. And therefore, if it's breaking, or if it's uncovered, which makes it worthless, you're not allowed to do that. Now, so what does this have to do with our Gemara? The Gemara over here is making it's not really completely analogous, but the Gemara is making an analogy over here between a possible hefsid in the case of where a bandit is coming in front of Mark, which is a passable hefsid, and a case of where there's a little hefsid, where the barrels are breaking, and it's wine that's already tummy. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, so Rabbi Yirmiyah says, here we're talking about Kishi'ikal Beis Abad Karach Aleha. Here we're talking about where the wrapper, again, of the press is wrapped around it. So that in our case over here, there isn't going to be much loss, because it's going to come out slowly. And that's why you're allowed to separate it for Trumas Meiser. Says the Gemara, well, a wrapper will help if it's breaking. But the wrapper will help. Elaniskalsa, but if it was uncovered, what's it going to be fit for? The wrapper doesn't help. If it's uncovered, you can't use it because the snake might have drank from it. Maybe you'll say they used to sprinkle wine for aroma, to give off aroma. So you'll say, well, maybe it has a purpose, even though the snake might have drank it and you can't drink it, but you could use it to aromatize the room. But the din is you're not allowed to aromatize, because it goes on the floor and somebody might be walking barefoot with a cut and the snake venom could poison it. V'tanya mayim shenizgalu, water that was uncovered, harizelo yishbechem b'rishus harabim. You're not allowed to pour it into Rishus Harabim. Somebody might walk uncovered, barefoot. You can't knead clay with it. Somebody might have a cut and get the poison into his hand. You can't aromatize the house. You're not allowed to give the drink to a person's animal, his own animal, or his friend's animal. Either because it might poison the animal, or because the poison will be ingested by the animal and then poison a person that eats it. Says the Gemara, no, there is still a use for it. The other labim masanenes, you could pass it through a strainer, because the poison doesn't pass through the strainer. Kerem nechemia. The Tanya, I'm telling you, look at this Gemara, it just keeps on going. It's amazing. It's amazing. And by the way, Rabbi Isai, we're cashing in. The fact of the matter is that anything we could have done tonight, let's say a person was going to rest and read a book. So that would be maybe an enjoyable half an hour or hour, but it would not be more than that. What we're doing tonight with this daf is going to remain with us l'neitzach nitzachim, forever and ever. That means in 100 billion years from now, we'll still be benefiting from the time that we take on this daf. It's really absolutely remarkable. And by the way, that's just a plain guy like me. Irving Fishbaum, who's learning it with Florona, we can't even begin to understand the schus that he's going to get. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Says the Gemara, how do we know that you could strain wine that was left uncovered? It's going to Reb Nechemia, the Tanya, misanenes yesh ba mishum gilui. Wine that was left in a strainer still has a problem of uncovered wine. Amar Reb Nechemia, Eimasai bizman shatachtoina megula, where the wine at the bottom of the strainer was left uncovered. Ava bizman shatachtoina mechusa, if the bottom was covered, afal pishel yoina megula, even though the upper part is uncovered, ein ba mishum gilui. There's no problem of gilui. Why? Because the fi she'eresh shel nachash daima l'svaik, the poison of the snake, the venom is like a sponge, v'tzafa oimei b'mekayim, and it stays on the top of the strainer. Says the Gemara, so therefore, the wine that was left uncovered, you could still make it trumas meiser, because you could pass it through a strainer. Says the Gemara, but lav itmer Allah, amr Reb Simayin, amr Reb Yeshua ben Levi, lo yishanu ela shalei tarku. That's only if you don't have to mix it by pouring it from a barrel into a strainer. Because when you pour it and it gets mixed, the poison thins out. Aval tarku, but if it gets mixed, aser. So how are you going to take this wine now that was left uncovered and pour it into a strainer? Says the Gemara, asem nami efshe de monach midei apuma de chavita. You could put straining material directly on the mouth of the barrel that was left uncovered and pour it out slowly, the shafule, and pour it out slowly. Says the Gemara, but wait a second. You're saying it's going according to Reb Nechemia. Does Reb Nechemia hold that you could separate trumas meiser from something that's tamei for other stuff that's tamei? Reb Nechemia mi tarminan, can we do this? Vatanya tarmin minat tamei ala tamei. You could take off truma from something that's tamei for other stuff that's tamei, or minatar ala tar, of course, stuff that's tar on tar. Or minatar ala tamei, you could take tar from tamei, giving the kayin the better deal. Avaloi minatamei ala tar. If your stuff is tar, you can't take trumas ma'isa from tamei, because then you're making the kayin lose out. Reb Nechemia Omer af minatamei ala tamei lo yitiru litraim. They didn't even allow you to take from tamei on tamei. Ela b'shel d'mai, only if it's drabanan, if it's stuff that's bought from an amaretz. So here, our case where you say that you could take the one, you have 10 barrels of ma'aser rishon tamei, that you could take off tamei from Tomei, and you want to say it's going according to Reb Nechemia, but Reb Nechemia says that you can't do that. Says the Gemara, Hachanami b'shel Demai. It must be that this case is talking about where it's Demai. Well, let's finish a little bit more, even though it's already very late, but let's finish. We've come all this way. Let's see, how is tomorrow's daf? Are we in again for a huge... No? Oh, it's smaller. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Says the Gemara, and by the way, we're coming down the home stretch, Rabbi Yisai. We need a sponsor for Bava Metzia. We do not yet have a sponsor for Bava Metzia. Don't all call me at once, but if somebody wants to sponsor Bava Metzia, 718-916-3100. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Says the Gemara. Amaman, ubeshemen lo yasaken. You can't do it with oil, because with oil, if Mark is going to give the barrel that's breaking or the barrel that's uncovered, that's a real loss to the kohen. It's not that it's tamei anyway, he can't use it, because he's allowed to use it as fuel. And oil, a regular use of oil is fuel. So the Gemara says, "Obeshem lo yasekem mipnei hefsed kohen." Says the Gemara, well, I don't understand. You're telling me oil you can't do it because it's a big loss to the kohen, because he would be able to use it as fuel, even though it's tamei. Ma'ishno shemen deroy lahadlik. So then by the wine we should also say, in the case where it's pouring out, it would be a big loss to the kohen. It's because even though it's tamei, it could be used for aromatizing. Yayanami royal azilaf. The chitema zilaf la milsi. That's not a very big use. To the contrary, it is a big use. We'll see that they spent more money on wine for aromatizing than on wine for drinking. If a person is tight on money, he would pay a seller for drinking for a lug of wine, but he would pay 2 seller for aromatizing. Says the Gemara, it's talking about new wine. New wine doesn't have an aroma. Says the Gemara, but the kohen could keep it until it gets old. Says the Gemara, no. Since this is tamei, we don't allow him to keep it around, because if he keeps it around, he might come to drink it. So the Gemara says, then how could you keep for the oil for fuel? You might come to cook with it. You might come to put it in your salad. Shemenami osabaladay takala. Says the Gemara, no, the oil for fuel you have to put in a dirty keli, so that you won't come to use it in your salad. The madach bekeli mois. So then the wine for aromatizing you should also put in a dirty keli. Yayin nami manach le beklei mois. Says the Gemara, no. If you're going to use it to aromatize, you can't put it in a filthy keli. That won't give a good aroma. Hashta laziluf kaboyle. If you're using it to aromatize, beklei mois kamanach, you want to put it in a dirty keli? Whoa, Rabbi Yisai, that was some job. Bravo to all of you. And now, don't go anywhere, Rabbi Yisai, as we learn the Mishnah Yomi.